Xabi Alonso. His father was a manager. He grew up with a father manager. Then he became a player, of course, much better than I was.
Everyone has an opinion on Xabi Alonso right now. Some are calling him the next great manager of his generation. Others are writing him off after what happened at Real Madrid. The internet has already decided who he is. But here is the problem.
I think he's a top manager. I think it's a great appointment.
Almost everything you have been told about Xabi Alonso is incomplete. Not wrong, incomplete. They tell you about the unbeaten Leverkusen season. They tell you about the Real Madrid drama. They show you the highlights and the headlines. But nobody is telling you the full story. Nobody is talking about the hidden wiring behind the man.
In Madrid, most of our style was very quick transitions.
The specific things that separate him from every other elite manager working today. Nobody is asking the real question. What does Xabi Alonso actually know that other managers do not? And more importantly, what does that mean for wherever he goes next? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to see him completely differently. If you are new here, we go deeper on football than anyone else on this platform. Subscribe and hit the bell. You do not want to miss what is coming. Here is something that sounds simple, but is actually extraordinary. Xabi Alonso was coached by Pep Guardiola, by Jose Mourinho, by Carlo Ancelotti, by Rafael Benitez, by Luis Aragonés. Not one of those names, not two, all of them. Think about what that actually means. Guardiola taught him positional play, the obsession with space, structure, and suffocating opponents through possession. The idea that football is not about running more than the other team. It is about making the other team run in the wrong direction. Mourinho taught him the opposite. How to be ruthless, how to defend as a unit, how to control a game without the ball, how to make winning ugly when winning pretty is not available. Ancelotti taught him man management, the art of keeping an entire dressing room of superstars motivated, connected, and pointing in the same direction. Benitez taught him tactical detail, the preparation, the analysis, the specific adjustments that win tight matches. And Aragonés taught him identity, what it means to represent a philosophy, to build a team that plays with collective soul rather than individual ego. No manager on earth received that education. Nobody. Most coaches learn from one or two mentors. They carry one dominant philosophy. They become known for one style. Alonso absorbed all of them, and then he built something new. That is not a coincidence. That is the foundation of everything you saw at Leverkusen. This is one of the most important moments in Alonso's managerial career, and almost nobody talks about it. In his first Champions League game in charge of Leverkusen, his team dominated Porto completely. 17 shots to Porto's 5. More possession, more pressure, more everything. They lost 3-0. Any other manager might have convinced themselves they were unlucky, might have stuck with what they believed in. Alonso did not. He sat with that result, and he asked himself an uncomfortable question. What is the point of controlling a game if you cannot score? He restructured his entire approach. He introduced more emphasis on counterattacking. He made his team harder to break down. He stopped chasing beauty and started chasing results. And then later that same season, he faced Mourinho's Roma in the Europa League semi-final. Roma sat in a low block, barely touched the ball, defended for their lives. Leverkusen had 23 shots. Roma had one attempt that did not even hit the target. Roma went through. Most managers would have been furious. Alonso filed it away. He is a student of the game, and students do not argue with lessons. They learn from them. That combination, the willingness to adapt, the humility to learn, the intelligence to evolve, is what makes him genuinely different. Let us be honest about Real Madrid, because the way it is being told right now is completely backwards. People are framing the Madrid stint as a failure, as evidence that Alonso is not ready for the very top. That is one of the laziest takes in football. Here is what actually happened. Alonso inherited one of the most dysfunctional dressing rooms in modern football history. Players in different factions, players physically fighting each other, a squad where individual power had replaced collective discipline. And yet, despite all of that, he had Madrid 5 points clear of Barcelona at the top of La Liga after beating them in El Clasico in October 2025. Before his arrival, Madrid had lost every single Clásico to Flick. Every single one. Alonso won one. His project was working. The results were there. The system was taking shape. Then Vinicius Jr. threw a tantrum about being substituted. In a game Madrid won. Not a defeat, a victory. And rather than accepting the manager's decision, Vinicius went directly to the president. And the club backed the player. That is not a managerial failure. That is a structural failure. You cannot hold a manager accountable for losing a power struggle with a club that was never going to give him the power in the first place. The final moment tells you everything you need to know. Alonso asked the squad to give Barcelona a guard of honor. Mbappe, a player Alonso actually rated and got on well with, refused. Alonso did not escalate. He did not fight. He accepted it and moved on. And some people read that as weakness. It was not weakness. It was a man recognizing that the institution had made its choice, that fighting it would cost him everything and change nothing. He walked away with his dignity. That says more about his character than any trophy.
Club and Xabi Alonso, it has been decided to end his time as first-team coach.
The Real Madrid failure actually proves Alonso's greatest strength. He will not compromise his principles to survive in a toxic environment. Every manager who survived long-term at Madrid did so by becoming the player's servant. Alonso refused. That makes him more trustworthy, not less. Do you think Xabi Alonso was betrayed by Real Madrid? Or do you think he made mistakes that cost him the job? Be honest in the comments. I want to know what you actually think. When people talk about Leverkusen, they always focus on the same things. The unbeaten Bundesliga season, the late winners, the near treble. Those things are real, but they are the surface. Here is what nobody is talking about. When Alonso arrived at Leverkusen, they were 17th in the Bundesliga. 2 wins in 12 games. Already looking at the drop. That is not a squad problem. That is a confidence problem, a belief problem, a direction problem. And Alonso fixed all 3 before he fixed the tactics. From day one, he told every single player exactly where they fit, exactly what was expected, exactly what they would get if they delivered. Not vague motivational speeches, specific clarity. Grimaldo arrived on a free transfer, a player many clubs had passed on. Alonso told him he would be one of the best wingbacks in European football under this system. Grimaldo ended that season with 11 goals and 15 assists from left wingback.
I have to say that I'm involved in a sport that I love.
Granit Xhaka, a player who many had written off as too aggressive, too inconsistent, became the heartbeat of one of Europe's best midfields under Alonso.
Leverkusen here, and the shot! Ah!
Victor Boniface, Florian Wirtz, Alejandro Grimaldo, player after player after player experienced the best football of their careers under this man. That is not a coincidence. That is coaching. And it is not just about tactics. It is about trust. It is about creating an environment where players feel safe enough to take risks, where a bad game does not mean you lose your place, where the system protects the individual rather than exposing them. That is the part you cannot replicate by watching clips. That is the culture Alonso builds. Here is something fascinating that almost nobody has mentioned. The number of late winners Leverkusen scored under Alonso was not normal. It happened so consistently, so repeatedly in the final minutes of matches, that it stopped being luck and started being a pattern. You know which other team does this more than any other in Europe? Real Madrid, the same club where Alonso spent 5 years as a player. The club whose DNA he carried with him into management. Is it Madrid DNA? Is it the belief he instilled in the players that the game is never over? Is it the systems he learned under Benitez? Who was on the bench when Liverpool made the greatest comeback in Champions League history against that same AC Milan? Probably all 3. What it tells you is that Alonso does not just coach a style of football. He coaches a mentality. And mentality is the hardest thing in sport to build and the most valuable thing to have. If this is giving you a new perspective on Alonso, hit the like button. It takes 1 second and it helps this video reach more football fans who need to hear this. Now, let us talk about where he goes from here. To truly understand Alonso the manager, you need to understand Alonso the player, because the player explains everything. At Liverpool, he became the first player in Premier League history to complete over 1,000 successful passes in a single season. 1,000 in one season, in the most physically demanding league on earth. He was not just keeping the ball, he was controlling the entire rhythm of the game, deciding when Liverpool pushed forward, deciding when they absorbed pressure, deciding when to play the pass that nobody else saw. Steven Gerrard, the captain, the leader, the heart of that Liverpool squad, openly admitted that when Alonso left, it broke him.
When you left, it broke me heart.
His form dipped at the start of the next season. Think about what it means when the captain of a club says your departure affected his performance. That is not a teammate. That is the spine of the team. Alonso was irreplaceable at Liverpool, not because of his goals, because of what he made possible for everyone around him.
That the Liverpool supporters, they appreciate me, and that makes me still feel part of the Liverpool family.
When Alonso arrived at Real Madrid in the summer of 2009 alongside Ronaldo, Kaká, Benzema, and Higuaín, he was technically not the biggest name in the building. But from his very first season, he started every match in La Liga and the Champions League unless he was injured or suspended. In a squad built around Cristiano Ronaldo, in a team where Kaká had just been signed for over 60 million, it was the red-bearded holding midfielder who the manager could not leave out. That is not a coincidence. That is irreplaceability. He helped Madrid finish with a club record 96 points. He was voted into the La Liga team of the season by marca readers. ESPN listed him among the best midfielders in Europe. La Liga itself nominated him for best midfielder. And all this in a team with Ronaldo. The fans started calling him La Barba Roja, the Redbeard, a nickname born from pure affection and admiration. He went on to win the Copa del Rey, then La Liga, the first league title of his career, which is actually remarkable when you consider he had already won a World Cup, 2 European championships, and a Champions League before winning a single domestic league. He was part of the night Madrid beat Bayern Munich 4-0 in Munich, one of the most dominant European performances in history. He could not play the final due to suspension, but he had earned that medal. He was the soul of that team. Not the face, the soul.
I think that we have pressed them quite well, and we have been smart enough and wise to keep the ball.
His final chapter as a player came at Bayern Munich under Pep Guardiola, and this is where it gets interesting. Under Guardiola, the number 6 role, the deep-lying playmaker, carries more responsibility than almost any other position on the pitch. You are the one controlling tempo. You are the one deciding when to recycle and when to play forward. You are operating as an extension of the manager's brain. Alonso thrived in that role. More importantly, he sat in Guardiola's sessions, listened to Guardiola's explanations, understood Guardiola's logic from the inside. Most players who worked under Guardiola understood what he wanted from them. Alonso understood why. That is a completely different level of understanding. And that understanding became the foundation of everything he built at Leverkusen. Here is something that gets mentioned briefly and then glossed over. Xabi Alonso speaks multiple languages fluently: Spanish, English, German, Basque. In elite football management, communication is everything. The ability to speak directly to a player in their language, without a translator, without the nuance being lost, is an enormous advantage. It means he can manage a dressing room of players from 15 different countries and make every single one of them feel understood. That is not a small thing. At clubs like Chelsea, where you have players from France, Argentina, Brazil, England, Spain, Portugal, and beyond, the manager who communicates directly wins the room faster. And winning the room is the first battle in any managerial job. He also has the Premier League experience from his playing days. He knows what that intensity feels like from the inside. He knows the physical demands, the media pressure, the supporter expectations. He is not arriving somewhere unfamiliar. He is returning somewhere he already understands. Look at what Alonso did with players nobody believed in. Granit Xhaka, written off at Arsenal, transformed into a Champions League-level midfielder at Leverkusen. Alejandro Grimaldo, quietly released and overlooked, became one of Europe's best wing-backs. Victor Boniface, unproven at the highest level, became a Champions League striker. Now, imagine what happens when you give him players who are already at that level. Declan Rice, Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo, Cole Palmer. These are not reclamation projects. These are elite footballers. Alonso does not just develop players. He unlocks them. He identifies what they do best. He builds a system around those strengths. And then he gives them the confidence to be themselves within that structure. That is the rarest combination in management. Most coaches either have the system or they have the man management. Very few have both. Alonso has both. And he has one more thing that most managers at his level do not have: patience. He was willing to spend 3 seasons building Leverkusen into a title-winning machine. He did not rush. He did not panic. He trusted the process. In modern football, and where results are demanded immediately and managers are sacked after 8 bad weeks, that patience is almost extinct. Let me be direct with you. The football world is full of managers who are celebrated for one idea, one style, one moment. Xabi Alonso is something different. He is a man who sat inside the greatest football minds of the last 20 years, who played in the biggest games, who survived the most toxic environments, who built something extraordinary from almost nothing. He made mistakes. He lost jobs. He failed in ways that will be used against him forever. But he learned from every single one of them. The Real Madrid experience did not break him. It gave him information. The Porto defeat did not discourage him. It made him smarter. The Roma Europa League exit did not defeat him. It added another tool to his arsenal. This is a man who has been shaped by failure as much as success. And in football, those are always the most dangerous managers. Not the ones who have only ever won. The ones who know exactly what losing costs and refuse to pay it again. Wherever Xabi Alonso goes next, they will not just be getting a manager. They will be getting the accumulated wisdom of Guardiola, Mourinho, Ancelotti, Benitez, and Aragonés. They will be getting a man who has stood inside every system, absorbed every philosophy, and forged something uniquely his own. And that is what they are not telling you about Xabi Alonso. The scary part is, he is only just getting started. Which club do you think would benefit most from Alonso right now? And do you believe he gets the time and backing he needs to build something special? I am reading every comment. If this video changed how you see Xabi Alonso, subscribe if you have not already. And watch our next video to go even deeper on the managers who are quietly reshaping football right now. See you there.